Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric, another episode of the Unported playlist where we take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. We had a combo episode today because each of these games is too short for its own episode, but they're both really fun, weird, and unique. First up, we're going to be talking about Armadillo Racing, and then we're going to go into Aqua Jet, two Namco Super System 22 games. Before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, and if you feel so inclined, we got a Patreon link down there as well if you want to support the channel. But these are two really fun games that are really strange. First up, Armadillo Racing. It's exactly what it sounds like. You pick your armadillo and you race through two courses. You have a trackball and basically that's all that happens. But it's a really weird, strange arcade game that's a lot of fun to play. It kind of plays like Sonic R except good versus that game, which is not. But it's basically oriented towards kids is what my assumption is. And every once in a while arcade makers do make smaller, less expensive cabinets or smaller games for younger children to play. But racing around as an armadillo trying to avoid pigs and crocodiles in this super colorful environment is in and of itself a really fun thing to play. And I actually did see an arcade cabinet for this back in the 90s, and I didn't play it because I really at that point in time wasn't interested in racing as an armadillo. And you'll see I missed that ramp there, so as opposed to being able to jump into the finish, I have to climb that wall. It's very easy to win this game, and I definitely think the difficulty is set up so that kids can win. And when you do win, you're going to go to a little bit of a bonus stage after you get this little I've got the crown intro. And this game is just fun. You've got these monkeys down there dancing and celebrating you. You've got an armadillo jumping up and down, celebrating his victory. It's hard to describe this game other than fun, colorful, joyful. It's not something that you're going to play for more than like 5-6 minutes. There's only 2 courses to race on, so that's all you get. And in between each course, you get to play a bowling mini game. Roll your armadillo forward and try to knock the pins over. Whether you get a strike, whether you don't, nothing really seems to change, but it's just a fun little mechanic. It almost feels like this was designed to be a mini game compilation, but it just ended up being Armadillo Racing with a bowling mini game around it. And it's always fun to cover games like this because not every single arcade game that comes out is meant to be a massive hit. They're not all going to be the House of the Dead. Sometimes companies like Capcom, Konami, Namco, and even Sega release these smaller cabinets that may be using older hardware that's cheaper to manufacture to just get something else out on the market and try and play around with things. But now moving on to the second course, the music's great in this. It's so colorful. It is challenging enough where if you want to actually get the best time, you're really going to have to learn the course because navigating around some of these tighter obstacles can be quite difficult. And you'll see that we have that heart meter in the corner there, and I haven't even really figured out 100% what that is. I think it just means that I'm running at the top speed and I've avoided enough obstacles. But it's a weird game, and definitely check it out. I mean, you can download it quickly. It emulates perfectly in MAME using a trackball mouse, which I do for editing. It's really easy to control, or you can use an Xbox One controller, PlayStation 4 DualShock controller hooked up via USB. It's really easy to control this no matter what you're using. And you will see that I've completed the entire game of Armadillo Racing. That's why it doesn't have its own video. It's just a little mini segment. And we'll pop our initials up onto the board, and now we're going to move on to Aquajet. So Aquajet is another one of those amusement cabinets. It's going to have a full-size jet ski that you can stand on. And interestingly, the Super System 22 seemed to have a lot of these type of cabinets. Prop Cycle had a bicycle, Armadillo Racing had a giant trackball, and Aquajet has a large full-size jet ski. So I think this hardware was used primarily for those type of amusement cabinets, which I always enjoyed playing when I was a kid, and now controlling them via MAME with an analog stick is also super easy. And if you've played any sort of water ski or jet ski arcade game, you're going to be instantaneously familiar with Aquajet. And it is a really fun one, but again, just like Armadillo Racing, it is quite short. Something like Wave Runner GP from Sega is going to give you a lot more courses and a lot more things to do. These games feel like they were developed very quickly because they're not that deep. There's 2 courses in Aquajet, there's 2 courses in Armadillo Racing. So what I think they were trying to do is manufacture cabinets quickly to get more things onto the arcade floor, and you see that in instances like this where there isn't really much going on in the game, and that's why I'm combining them into a combination episode because I wanted to talk about both, but I didn't want to give each one its own episode because there really wasn't enough content to talk about them. But again, super fun racing game. I'm actually going to let you listen to the music a little bit. It kind of sounds like Hawaii 5-0. It's a good time. Listen to the sound effects, and I'll be back in about a minute, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Aquajet. But enjoy.
Time extended. Jump contest. Yes. No. No. Goal.
So as you can see, it's basically your standard run-of-the-mill jet ski arcade game, which isn't to say it's bad, it's actually really fun. I love all those giant animal balloons in the background. But these are really unique games because they weren't in arcade floors that long. I don't think any of these games did particularly well, so they're really rare, if impossible to find now. I haven't even seen any of the PCBs for sale or any full arcade cabinets for sale, so the best we have is something like MAME to emulate them, which is why I'm always advocating for emulating things that are too hard or basically impossible to find. Because if it wasn't for emulation on this, it's not something that I could show you. And this is the type of arcade board that I would add to my personal collection, because inverting the controls to work on something like a home controller, if you had the arcade board in front of you, would be near impossible. That'd probably be weeks of electronic engineering to figure out how it worked. Whereas something like MAME, we can just configure an Xbox One controller and be playing in like 30 seconds, and that's why I love things like that. From a historical standpoint, trying to show you guys all these different diverse games that were never ported home, these are two really fun ones, and if Namco was for some reason to release a System 22 compilation for modern consoles with all the games on there, I would pick it up for like $60 because they're all unique, fun games, and if you could play with 2 players, it would be even more fun. But short of that, leave a comment or a question below. I'd love to hear if you guys have seen these cabinets in the wild when they were originally available, or if you've seen one recently, because I haven't seen any of these since the 90s, and I don't think you really will. But short of that, we will be back next Sunday with another episode in the Unported Arcade playlist series. We have a ton more coming up. I'm doing voiceovers for 15 right now, and I've got a list of about 80 more that I'm thinking about doing. But if there is any particular title you want to see, leave it in the description below. Maybe I've already done it and just haven't released it yet, or maybe it's something that even I've never heard of. But short of that, thanks so much for watching, guys. As I said earlier, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And we will be back on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday with more videos as well. But if you ever see Aqua Jet or Armadillo Racing in the wild, definitely pop a few credits in and play them, because your odds of seeing them again are completely, probably 0. I don't think you'll see one, but you never know. It's a big world out there, and I'm only a small part of it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
You're number 1. Please enter your name,